I was having a discussion the other day with a couple friends. I was telling them about this amazing philosophy is conversation class that I'm taking, and how we're talking about ethics. And as I started to tell them about the class, one of my friends, Wayne, butted in and said, "Hey, I don't need to hear about this. I'm religious, and my religious text tells me all I need to know about ethics. It tells me all I need to know about morals. And as a matter of fact, it would be disrespectful if I read any other book or I took a class that told me about ethics. It would be disrespecting my religion." I told him that my professor said that that's not the case at all. However, that if there was a creator, or if there is a creator, that he's blessed us with a big brain and intelligence and the ability to use logic and reason when we're talking about discussing ethics or religions or anything like that. He also says that it allows for a common ground when discussing religion or different things for people of different faith. And he pointed out that Robert Audi, a Christian philosopher, stated that it was actually against the golden rule, or required by the golden rule, to come to a public perspective when discussing things. The golden rule being do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And the reason for that is, he stated that you wouldn't want somebody from another religion basing their beliefs or their laws on their religion and then trying to force those upon you. My other friend Garth butted in and said it doesn't even matter because ethics are a matter of personal opinion. They're just moral subjectivism. And then I told him, well, my professor had an argument against that. He says the first argument is a negative argument, and he says that some things are subjective and other things aren't. He says your favorite flavor of ice cream is subjective, but whether there's intelligent life in the other galaxy outside of the Earth, that's not subjective. There either is or there isn't. That goes along with some things that can be proven empirically or cannot be proven empirically, but they aren't subjective. Whether or not aliens exist, they either exist or they don't exist, irregardless of our belief in them. Our belief does not make them exist or make them not exist. A lot of things are included in this. The flat earth versus the round earth debate. What happens to you after death, and not least of which, is there a God or is there not a God? His positive argument for this was that morality is subjective. If morality was subjective, then any action would be permissible. And the example he used was torturing babies. If someone felt that it was moral for them to torture babies, and morality was subjective, then they could go around torturing babies, and there's nothing anybody could really do about it because to them it was morally acceptable. Obviously, nothing would be wrong, nothing would be evil, or there would be nothing. You could not say to somebody that they were being immoral. This also applies to cultural subjectivism too. Just because a certain culture believes that women or a certain race are second-class citizens, that does not make them second-class citizens. My personal argument, or what I would tell my friends, is that I agree that intelligent creator would want us to use the gifts he's given us. He would want us to use logic. He would want us to use reason to talk about these things. Personal example of that is I used to be a philosophy major the first time I went to school. A lot of philosophy is ancient religions, different religions, and a lot of discussion on whether there's a God or not. This personally strengthened my belief in my personal religion, not because I read something and I was like, that's the answer, but because I read a lot of things that weren't the answer. I read a lot of things where I was like, I'm not really sure, but I know that's not the case. And that would be a negative argument. I also think if you are religious and your goal is to spread your religion or to talk about your religion with other people, then I believe as a believer, it's your duty to meet a non-believer where they're at, to find the common ground that they're okay with, to talk to them on that level, to talk to them about those things where they're at. Also, I think it's obvious that moral subjectivism isn't the case, that morality isn't subjective. If you take a thief and they steal things, like they steal your possessions, obviously that's okay for them, but they wouldn't be okay with you going to steal their things. They're just giving you excuses why it's okay for them to break the law or break these ethics codes. For example, or one of my favorite examples is C.S. Lewis talks about in Mere Christianity, and he states that if there was no real right or wrong, then what's the point of saying the Nazis were wrong? Unless there's a real right and that they knew about what they should have been doing, they knew how they should have acted, and then they didn't. If there's no wrong, then you can't say that they were wrong. Thank you.